Since the release of Fortnite's Battle Royale mode back in 2017, the game has always had a large focus on its lore and storytelling. Whether it was a teaser for a new season or a slight change to the map, there always seemed to be something going on for players to uncover. However, there was always something that brought out the interest of players more than anything else: live events.
It's over there now, by Loot Lake! Yo! We entered the Matrix! Oh!
Holy! Okay, well, now that's a cinematic in Fortnite. What are we playing right now? Oh! Yes! It's a new map! It's a new map!
These were massive events that saw thousands if not millions of players coming together to watch the story unfold in real time. If every update in the Fortnite storyline had simply been done through a short cutscene, it would never have gained the popularity that it retains today. Although other games have attempted to replicate the level of success that Fortnite has achieved, most people would agree that Epic Games have cemented themselves as the undisputed king of in-game live events. But even the mightiest kings have to lose their crown eventually, and Fortnite's may be starting to slip. This is the story of Fracture, the most hated event in Fortnite history. Building up hype for an event is one of the best ways you can promote it. Be it a garage sale, a car auction, or a Fortnite event, if people get excited for what's to come, they're going to be making plans and spreading the news. Failure to build up hype can result in your event being a major flop. When it comes to Fortnite and Epic Games, they are especially good at hyping up their live events. Donald Mustard, the chief creative officer at Epic Games, is constantly teasing updates and hints for the future of the game, sometimes literal years in advance. Take, for example, this tweet posted back in October of 2021. At first glance, it seems like a simple reciting of one of his favorite quotes, but it actually goes much deeper than this. These same words were echoed during the trailer for Chapter 2, Season 8.
And know that when we are done, only nothing will remain.
Donald would also tweet this phrase once again on another trailer a few weeks later. At this point, we knew this statement was important, but with a new chapter on the horizon, we just assumed it referred to the Q Queen blowing up the map, therefore leaving nothing behind. Makes sense, right? After that exact thing happened during the second end event, we all just kinda thought that was it. We moved on to a new map and forgot about it. It would remain this way until nearly a year later during Chapter 3 Season 4, where we would start hearing about this mysterious being called the Nothing. There were these challenges where you would communicate with it through TV screens around the map, and it would tell you how you were progressing and you were being evil or something. Honestly, I didn't do the challenges, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But this discovery prompted the community to start digging more into those tweets from Donald Mustard, where in each one, the word nothing was always capitalized, as if it was referring to the name of someone or something. But as it turned out, there were far more references to the Nothing than just this. The description for the Herald skin, the main antagonist of that season, says the Nothing is coming, again with it seemingly being a name. The name Herald itself also refers to something's arrival, in this case being the Nothing. Even the music I'm playing in the background right now is called Nothing is Inevitable. That's right, even the music was teasing us here. There was even a skin survey sent out around this time with these crazy looking skins that people were theorizing was maybe the Nothing and its opposite, the Everything. For those that don't know, by the way, skin surveys are basically something that Epic sends out every so often that gives a little sneak peek at skins that may or may not come to the game in the future. So with all these hints and references to this mysterious Nothing, it's understandable that there would be a massive amount of hype and intrigue within the Fortnite community. It would also be a reasonable thing to assume that it would play a big part within the end of season event, right? Well, of course it would. But apparently, Epic didn't share that opinion. The Nothing had absolutely no role in the entirety of the 40-minute long Fracture Live event. Let me just put that in text on the screen there for you so you can really understand just how stupid this is. There wasn't a single part of the event where the Nothing was of any importance at all. Not a single one. There wasn't a line of dialogue, a floating piece of the island, or a live event flashback that mentioned or referenced the Nothing in any way. There was quite literally nothing. I don't know if this was supposed to be some sick joke or something, but I'll tell you what, I'm not laughing. Like, what? I just don't understand this. How can you hype up this big new entity that has always been there even before the freaking 0 point was created, and then literally not even include it in the longest Fortnite event of all time?
What are you doing? Making a mistake. Making a mistake? What is going on in your mind?
I don't know if this was deliberate or if they somehow just forgot to include it, but the amount of misleading that took place is absurd. It feels like almost everything leading up to this event was just essentially clickbait, and it got us thinking this event was going to expand the story when really all it did was give us a new map. And hey, you won't hear me complaining about a new map, but it just doesn't feel like it was earned, if that makes sense. In previous seasons, we always had a huge amount of buildup that led to awesome events, especially if it was an end of chapter event. But here, all the buildup just led to something that had nothing to do with the teasers, which made the event feel out of place and somewhat random. It's almost like they were trying to rush out a new chapter to compete with other games, and the story and event both suffered immensely because of it. But unfortunately, the suffering from the Fracture event was only just beginning. With the build-up and storyline of the Fracture event being an undeniable mess, how did the gameplay fare? Well, let's just say it'd be a difficult task locating any video on YouTube that doesn't have comments mentioning how this event felt like a creative map. That's not really what you want people to be saying after your big end of chapter event. Let's just start at the beginning, shall we? After the completely anticlimactic opening cutscene where the island blows up for no reason, we get transported to this area where pieces of the island ended up after the explosion. I don't know how anything was left over after this, but whatever, man. Anyway, in this area we were given the task of completing missions to obtain 0 point fragments. These fragments were tracked in the top left next to your name so that you could have bragging rights or something, I guess. Every couple minutes, more pieces of the map would float in and give us new challenges to attempt for even more fragments. We had incredible feats to accomplish, such as slaughtering chickens for their meat and bringing it to a farmer, identifying as an inflatable beach toy, using a telescope to find the 2 characters that continue to remind us of a season that we will never see the likes of again, and hurling giant snowballs at people in hopes that you would maybe hit yourself and be launched back in time to a better live event. Everything else was pretty much just doing some parkour or watching a short flashback from a past live event. After around 40 minutes of repeating this process, we are greeted with another cutscene in which Paradigm uses Zero Fusion to bring together pieces from several different realities, creating a new island in the process. We were then dropped into a waiting screen that has now become a staple for new Fortnite chapters. So with at least a basic idea of what the Fracture event entailed, I now can pose to you this question. Is anything that I just described out of the realm of possibility for being made in Fortnite's creative mode? Some of you watching may not be all too familiar with what Fortnite Creative can actually accomplish, but even before the recent release of Unreal Editor for Fortnite, or UEFN, the things people could create were pretty incredible. Excluding the obvious limitations of no fully animated cutscenes or custom voice lines, the minigame of collecting fragments by completing short quests can be replicated surprisingly easily. Being, well, something of a creator myself, I decided to see how close I could get to replicating this in Fortnite Creative Mode. And this is the final result. Granted, this is a very small rendition of the entire event, and I only designed one functional quest, but the point of this was to see how easily the core aspects of the event could be recreated. Keep in mind that I play on console and I don't have access to UEFN at the moment. Regardless, I was still able to create a fairly accurate minigame in a relatively short amount of time. In under 2 hours, I was able to make a visibly similar area as well as the snowball quest I mentioned before. Additionally, I implemented the functionality of gaining 0 point fragments with a leaderboard to track how many you have. It is a very bare bones and simplistic recreation of a small part of the event, but the fact that I was able to create it so quickly in Fortnite's own creative mode just goes to show how underwhelming the event truly was. This small area that I have just shown off to you was more or less the bulk of this massive end of chapter event. After all this build-up, what we got was a creative map whose functionality I could recreate in a single afternoon?
What?
I'm no video game developer, and I know I only built a simple mission, but if I could create this with Fortnite's own tools, then Epic wouldn't have had much trouble creating it either. So what's with the lack of effort put into this event? Previous events had always been ambitious and they drove the story forward in epic ways, but this one just doesn't feel the same. I have a couple theories about what the reason behind this could be, but first, let's take a look at what happened directly after the event, specifically the launch of Chapter 4. After the 12-hour waiting screen and an additional couple hours of downtime, Fortnite Chapter 4 officially launched on December 4th, 2022. This massive update brought a whole host of changes, most importantly a new island for Battle Royale and a complete overhaul of the game's graphics using Unreal Engine 5.1. But for those of us that played Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 1 at launch, we will remember something else that was almost just as prominent as these new additions. That of course being the glitches, and oh my, there were a lot of them. Fortnite has never been a stranger to small bugs and unintended errors, but it was like this season had more glitches in its first month than Chapter 3 had had over its entire duration. It was pretty bad. In fact, I would say it was more difficult to go an entire match without something going wrong than it was for a literal robot to earn a victory royale. In my first video from that season, which was a challenge to win using only the new shockwave hammers, which by the way was a great video, you should check it out after this, my duo and I got the full rundown. I kept getting this really annoying movement bug. We had people just phasing through our attacks, and my teammate literally teleported for no reason. We were also constantly having our hammers go through walls and knock people, which was great news for us, but probably not as great for our opponents. All of these glitches and more happened to us from a less than 2-hour recording session. If that doesn't tell you how buggy the game was, then I don't know what will. Now, you may be wondering what relevance this information has to the Fracture event. Well, it helps support my theory on why the event seems so rushed and low effort, further supported by the recent leaks suggesting that Chapter 5 will begin in December 2023, a topic that deserves a video of its own. I believe that Epic was trying to rush out a new chapter of the game before it was totally ready. Why they were doing this is anyone's guess, but with Chapter 3 being around half as long as Chapter 2 was, it's pretty clear that Epic was trying to speed things up. The popular theory at the moment is that a new chapter and map each year is a good way to keep players engaged, as well as keep the game interesting. I for one am someone who's strongly against the switch to yearly chapters, but I can see how it would be better for getting older players to return to the game more frequently. Epic Games, being a business, is obviously going to focus on what makes the most money and holds player retention the longest. Unfortunately, there seems to be a growing trend with AAA developers, who prioritize getting a game out to make deadlines rather than waiting until the game is fully ready to release it. Game Freak? Epic has proven themselves to be better than most developers though, and I don't think they would ever release an update where the state of the game was so poor that it would be considered unplayable. Chapter 4 was the worst season launch in Fortnite history, that much is true, but I would be surprised if they were ever to release a season in such a bad state again. So what effect did Fracture have on the community and the game as a whole? While most people left an angry Instagram comment and that was pretty much it, I think it showed a lot of us that the story just wasn't Epic's main focus anymore. Not to say that they don't care about it, but it just wasn't as interesting as it once was. As someone who used to watch every Ali video on the lore the second it came out, I'll admit that I lost track of the story sometime in Chapter 3. I still haven't figured out what happened to The Rock. Like, where is Dwayne? Is he safe? Is he alright? It kind of feels like they aren't focusing on making live events anymore, and the fact that we didn't get an event for Season 2 further supports this claim. Typically they've done an event every other season, but from leaks it looks like we won't be getting one until December this year, which is crazy to think about. Perhaps the reaction to the Fracture event showed Epic that we don't like the events they make, which I really hope isn't the case. Live events are a huge part of Fortnite's identity, and without them, it would feel like a piece of the game is missing. They act as moments where the community can come together and forget about sweating and toxicity and just watch something cool go down in front of us. Because at the end of the day, that's all they are. Just hopping out with your friends and watching some cool stuff happen. And that's all they've ever needed to be. So what happens next? First of all, I think the 2022 to 2023 transition was an anomaly for Fortnite. All of the bugs and a huge miss of a live event made for a rough couple of months, but Epic Games have swiftly recovered and reclaimed their crown with banger crossovers and one of my personal favorite seasons from the past few years. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't enjoy the start of Chapter 4 too, it was just the overwhelming amount of glitches that made the game frustrating to play sometimes. With us moving into Season 4 in about a month, and maybe Chapter 5 by the end of the year, I strongly believe that the shortcomings from the Fracture event will help Epic realize their mistakes and deliver an amazing event to finish off the chapter. One thing about Fortnite is that they never make the same mistake twice. Except for with the mechs. and overpowered heal-off metas, and not making lightsabers a pickaxe. Actually, scratch that. They do sometimes make the same mistake twice, or thrice, but at least this time around, I don't think they'll make the same mistakes with the live event. Fortnite may not be everyone's favorite game, and they might not always make the best decisions, but it is my belief that they are the best at making consistently good content for players to enjoy, and that they will continue to do that for years to come. Here's to a great future. I've been Blitzblock, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate those of you who watched this video all the way through. It's been a long time project of mine, and I'm excited to finally release it for you all to see. I'd like to thank all of my fellow creators whose videos I used to help create this one. I'll leave a list to all of their channels down in the description below. Be sure to check them out if you haven't already. If you want to help support me, consider liking the video and subscribing. I make gameplay and discussion videos on both Fortnite Battle Royale and Creative Mode. I've also recently started a TikTok where I post cooler funny clips as well as some other stuff. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next upload. Peace out.